Hi guys, and welcome to my new series, the Adobe XD Masterclass. So we're going to start off by teaching you guys everything you need to know about getting started with Adobe XD. We're going to tour the workspace, show you some tools that you can use, the editor, how you can save your assets and components, how you can share your prototypes, and also obviously how you prototype. So what I'm going to do first of all is open Adobe XD. This software is completely free to use. It's one of the only softwares that is completely free to use by Adobe. And upon opening, you get this screen. Yours might look a little bit different because you're a first-time user, but it should be very similar to this. So you'll have the home button, which shows how you can start making your own artboard. You have your add-ons. So these are a whole host of add-ons. They're constantly releasing more, in which can help you a little bit with efficiency in your projects. So it might be that, I don't know, one that I use a lot is Lorem Ipsum. So whenever I need any text and I haven't got the text from a client just yet, I just use Lorem Ipsum to input some text into a text field for me. So it's just placeholder text. Or you might have Jira, which helps with your project management. So you can upload files to Jira straight from Adobe XD. You also have your cloud documents, so you can see all your Adobe Cloud documents. You have shared with you, which is files people who are on the same Adobe license as you, they can share their files with you, so you can have collaboration with other people. Your deleted files, and you can also manage links. And then you also have your computer files as well, so you can open up any files from here. Then we also have the changelog. I will be doing a series as well on the What's New section, which basically shows you what's new in Adobe XD. So I'll be doing regular videos on this as well, showing you what's new in Adobe XD. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our home tab. We can see we've got a whole range of devices here. You can click on the mobile ones and change to all these. You can change to iPads and tablets or web. And you can also import a custom size as well. Now all this is measured in pixels, so if we want a 500 by 500 pixel canvas, we just do 500 by 500 there. But to start off, we're going to enter no values and we're going to go custom size, and that'll make us a project but with no artboards in it. So you'll be presented with this. If you've used Photoshop before, it's a similar sort of layout to Photoshop, although I often say it's a lot easier. It's very, very similar to something like Paint. The tools are really, really easy to use. So first of all, we've got across the top, we've got different tabs. So the design tab, the prototype, and the share tab. So the design one's where you're going to do all your design, and everything that you want to put into your project is going to be in the design tab. The prototype tab is where you can connect different elements, like shown, to animate your projects. So you'll animate it, and then you'll be able to play it in real time and click and interact with different elements. And the share tab is so you can share with either developers or a project manager or anyone else who needs to review your project, and they'll be able to comment on different aspects of your project. Over here you have your main tools that you're going to use, which are dynamic to whatever you're on, whatever tab you're on. So on the design tab we've got the select tool, which will also be used to resize everything. You've got the shape tool, which you can use just like so, and that'll make you a shape in your project, a rectangle. And then you have your circle or ellipses tool. You can hold shift to constrain proportions on these. You can also hold alt or option to get it from the center. And then you also have the triangle, which is your polygon tool. You have a line tool, a pen tool, a text tool, and a create new artboard, and also a zoom tool. So we're going to start off by using our create new artboard tool. So once we've selected this, we're going to create a new artboard, which is going to be our web 1920 by 1080. We can see that's 1920 by 1080 just over here. If we wanted to change that to 1920 by 500, all we have to do is change it there. If we want to lock our aspect ratio, we just click our little lock there, and that'll keep our aspect ratio at 1920 by 1080, which we can also resize like so. Pretty neat. Also, we can rotate our artboard just by clicking that button, like so. Change it from a landscape to a portrait. And we can do a few other things in this as well, which I'm not going to go into just yet, apart from this appearance. tool. So this will fill your background with whatever colour you put it. Now you can do it like this, or you could simply put in a shape and fill the whole space and change the colour of that shape. Let's say, whichever way you want to do it. You might need to do it in different ways for different projects and things like that. So now that we've made our artboard, we're going to rename our artboard called artboard 1. So this is going to be our basic artboard to get started. So we can resize this however we want. So if I currently press play on it, that's our artboard. That is demonstrating our artboard. Now, if we want to get a shape, and we're just going to add a nice big shape in the center here, and we're going to drag it, and some lines should appear, which are our quick guides, and we can position it wherever we want. So we're just going to put ours in the center like that. We can change the fill on the shape just over in our right hand panel. This will show everything you need to know about each element that you're putting into your project. So I've got a fill. We could add a border. We could increase the size of that border to 10. Make it black if we want. We can also add some dashes as well, which will make it dashed. And this will increase the space in between that border. And so we're just going to undo what we've just done and go back to this stage where we've got a box with a border on it. Now we can reduce the opacity of this object. This will reduce the whole opacity of your whole element, or we can just reduce the opacity of the fill itself or the border. We then have the blending options, similar to Photoshop, where you can darken and you can multiply, you can use your overlay. I don't use these very often. I find that I do everything that requires blend modes. Usually I do it in Photoshop and then copy into Adobe XD. If we grab our artboard, we can extend our artboard from the bottom. But first of all, we're going to unclip our lock button, and then we're going to extend it from the bottom, and you'll find this dotted line appears. This is where your project was initially set at. So this will be your screen size, for example. So we can extend this down as far as we want. And then if we click play now, we now have a scrollable artboard because we've got that white space below. So moving on to our next tool, we've got the ellipses tool, which we can drop in ellipses like so. Similar sort of functions, exactly the same. You can add borders, you can change how your border interacts, things like that. One thing that is worth mentioning as well, which I use quite a lot, on your rectangular tool or on polygon tools, you can also add a cushioned edge just by putting in a number in this box here, and that'll be your softened edge. And you can also change this for every single corner. So say if you want one which only has curved edges on two sides, then you can change it like so. So we're just going to undo that. You can also change this by grabbing the corner here and moving it in and out. And if you just want to affect one corner, you can hold Alt or Option on Windows and just drag in, and that'll affect only one corner. So we're just going to delete that. We'll move on to the polygon tool. So this is a fairly new feature. You can make a triangle initially. So I'm just going to colour this triangle red. Like so. Put it in the centre using my quick guide. And then we can change the amount of sides this element has. So say if I want 4, it'll make it into a square or a diamond. If I want 5, you've got a pentagon, and so on. You can have endless amounts, which makes it so we can make our polygon vectors really, really easy without fiddling around. You can also smooth off these edges, similar to what you can do with a square. So you could add 100 onto that, and you got yourself a nice curved edge on your triangle. Again, you can do the same, add a border, and you can also add drop shadows to your element. So the next element is the line element, very similar to some of the features you have in Photoshop. This one does not have a fill, however it does have a border, which is the weight of your line. So if we put this to 100, you'll have a 100 pixel line, etc. And you can also add a shadow to this if you wish. Like so. On to the next one. This is the pen tool, so you can do many different things with this by clicking and dragging, making vectors. We could have something along the lines of this. If we make this a nice blue, so, and then we flip this upside down just by clicking below the object and dragging it around. Holding shift will make it clip. We can just drag it up to the top there. We'll remove our border, and all of a sudden we've got something that we might want as a header on a website. If you want to add more anchor points to this, you can also click, you can drag, you can delete one of the edges if you want it to be more harsh of a straight line, and pull. I recommend experimenting with that quite a bit. It will take some getting used to, but once you get used to it, it's a great tool to have in your arsenal. So next is the text tool. So by default, if I type hello, this will make a text tool which is clipped to its little box. So however many characters you want have on there, it'll be clipped to that box. I can resize it just by clicking and dragging. I can flip it and all sorts. So we've got quite a lot of different character editors here. So we can change the font. We can make it black and italic. You can center it, you can change the spacing, you can do all sorts in this. You can make it all caps, and you also have your borders, your shadows, etc. However, there is also one other feature that comes with text, and this is text box. So it's the area text. So now it's created a text box instead of just being constrained to the text proportions. So I can make it much bigger, and I can write whatever I want in here now. So if I write hello again, but I want this to be shorter, I can just drag in like that and it'll drop it to the next line, like so. So if I decide I want this to be back to constrained text again, to point text, I just click the point text and now I can resize just like that, which is pretty cool. And then onto the artboard, which we've covered before already, which is just the same as what we saw on the start screen, so you've got all your different options, like so. So on to the next part. This is your assets panel. So you can link this with other cloud documents so you can share assets across your projects. You can also add colors, character styles, and components. So I'm just going to make a little button. So this is going to be my button. I'm going to color it in blue. I'm going to add some cushioning to the edges of 100. And we've got a button there centered in the center of our page. If we look at it, that's our button. So I want to now add this colour to my project. So all I have to do is click on the element and click plus, and now I've got my colour saved there. So if I make another element, like so, it's a white element, and I click my colour, it'll make it blue. So a really, really easy way to get all your assets sorted up there. You can also sort by colours. If you have a lot of different assets, you might want to filter them at the top. So another thing that you might want is character styles. So say if I write the word button, I want to shrink this down just a little bit, put this inside of our button like so. So nice and centered. I click on that. Click character styles. I now have this character style, which is Proxima Nova 61 point. And if I make some more text saying hello, and I just change this to Arial, for example, and then I click on Proxima Nova, I'll just make it blue for this example. It'll go back to whatever that button was, and it'll always resize itself to exactly that size, like so. Pretty cool. So this is really useful when you're building things like style guides. It allows you to have all your assets saved and ready to go. So another thing you can do also is create components. So I'm just going to group these elements by pressing Control G or Command G on Mac, and then if I click plus on components, I now have components which I can use more in my projects. So say I want another one of these, all I have to do is click and drag, and I have another button. And if I change the master, it will also change the others, which is really, really good when we're making lots of elements in our projects and you want them all to be the same. You can make more than one element like so. Pretty cool. Over here, we have our layers. This will show us everything that we've got, similar to Photoshop layers. The things at the bottom are at the bottom of your artboard, and the things at the top are at the top of your artboard. So we've got, say we want a big red square, like so. That is now on top of our artboard above our button. If we drag it below, it'll go below our button. Easy. So that's just walked you through a few different things to do with components, style guides, and layers. And also you have your plugins here where you can discover more plugins and download more plugins, but I'll go into that more in detail another time. So what if we want to prototype our project? So we want our button to actually work. So we're going to make a new artboard. So we're going to copy and paste our artboard. And we could make... we're going to change our background colour to red, and we'll get rid of that button. So now we've got two different artboards doing two different things. So if we go on prototype now, we can click on our button and it gives us this little arrow. And if we drag this along to our other artboard, now we get all different actions up here on the right hand side. So you have tap, drag, keys, and gamepad or voice. So these are all different commands that will trigger your button. So I want it to be a tap because I want to click my button and it does an action. I want it to do a transition. I want it to go to the destination of artboard 1, 1. I want the animation to be let's do a slide left. I want it to ease out and the duration be 0.3 seconds. So now if I click on our original artboard and click play, we can see we've got our artboard which is scrollable. If I click button, it'll slide in to our next element, which allows us to prototype really quick without doing any development work and show our developers what we want to achieve from our projects. So say I want to go and share this now that I've created this, I want to share this with our developers. So I click on share. Actually, I can change my title. I can choose what I want from these templates, what I want the feedback to be. So whether it's a design review, whether it's development or presentation or a user testing, I can do all sorts of different things here. I can rename the project. I'm going to do development, and this will export it for web. And then all I have to do is create my link. It'll create the link, and then I can share that link with any developers that I want to share it with. So they'll have all the assets on this link, like so. They'll be able to see anything they need to see. They'll be able to make notes. If I click over here, they can see all the colours I've used, all the fonts I've used, what transitions are included, what the viewport size is, and different things like that. They'll be able to see what the padding is on certain elements and so on. So a really, really useful tool for developers and designers and bridging the connection between the two. So one or two more features just to close out. We now have this feature where we can add more people to our project, so we can work in real time with other people. And we also have our preview on device, which if you have the Adobe XD mobile app, you can preview your mobile designs in real time and your prototypes in real time on your app at the same time. So hopefully that's gave you a bit of better understanding on what the workspace does in Adobe XD. Next episode we'll be going into a bit more nitty gritty of how to make some of these nice layouts, what we can do with grids, things like that in Adobe XD, and how we can really get into using the tool and using all these tools that we have to create some great prototypes and hopefully start your career in UX design. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like if it helped you out, and comment if you have any questions or requests for future videos.